people, I'm Benjamin Cornelius and this is The Road to Sigmar. In episode 3 I want to talk about my progression in the hobby. I want to hit a little bit about where I'm headed, what I'm doing, how I'm going to get some games in, kind of my plan. And then I also want to go back to basics and talk about what this hobby is and what it takes to get into it. So let's get started. All right, let's talk about my where I'm headed. So, I have mentioned before, I have a family. I got a big family. We've got a lot of kids. So, it takes me quite a bit to get out of the house and actually be able to play a game, especially a game as long as a game like Warhammer takes. So, my plan right now, so we have babies. I've mentioned that in the past episodes that our babies are young. So getting out of the house takes some definite coordination between my wife and I. When we're both we both have careers. I'm a paint contractor and my wife's a doula, which means we juggle our schedules a lot. Both being for the most part self-employed, and with her job she could be gone a night here and there when babies are born on their own schedule, so we don't really get to choose that. So with all of that, I've really at least for the next year, maybe 2 years, am going to have to kind of plan out my events and or things I want to play, times I want to play, and be okay if that kind of falls through, which is a progression from the first year of having twins. So there's having a baby, and then there's having twins. They're two different levels of things. Having twins takes everything. They're real amazing, and it's a lot of work. So for the first year of their life, my hobby dropped to nothing. Also coupled with moving halfway across the country from Oklahoma to San Diego, and then living with my in-laws during that time meant that I had no space to set up and none of that. So that's what I'm excited about this. Even why I'm doing these videos is because now I have time and space to set up at least a little corner. I have my desk that I can hide my stuff away from my children in, and then I have some room in the underhouse here where I can hide my models. And because today even my 1.5-year-old got a hold of my bloodthirster because I was being a real idiot, and that meant he got a few more pins put in him, because kids, man. I hear people saying their cats knock off their models off their shelves, but what a 16-month-old little boy can do to a model is pretty devastating. But I got it back together, and I'm moving forward with that. So my plan is to really decide on some events the next few months out and play at least in one event every month or two. So my first tournament, as far with Age of Sigmar, I've signed up for and paid my entrance fees, and it's here in San Diego. It's a 2-day GT. They're hoping that it's going to be a major in the ITC, and that'd be cool. Tournament games I haven't had a chance to really learn or play a lot of tournament games, like I've mentioned. Most of my hobby has either been on the open play side or a lot of narrative gaming. I'm a big fan of the narrative play, so it's kind of new. And being in San Diego, where there's a big tournament scene, and it seems a budding tournament scene here. AOS is obviously new, so that's interesting. I've just heard tell of how there's a Masters League in 40K, and then the guys who run the ITC are from here, or they live here. So there's a lot of hobby going on in this city. So that makes me super excited. Also seems like it's going to be pretty easy to get into a community, and then also as new players come in, meet people and see how to connect into the different communities that are here. I found a few guys that play tournaments, and I'm excited to learn from them and see how that goes. So first event is in July, and so that's exciting. There's also a big event coming up in October here, the SoCal Open. Pretty stoked to see how that rolls. Del Mar is beautiful. It's one of the it's in North County, right along the coast, and I mean San Diego weather, you can't beat it. If you're from anywhere else, San Diego weather is always perfect. Now that I've been here a year and a half, it gets cold sometimes, and by cold I mean like in the 60s, so I need to put on a sweatshirt. But when I first moved here, I was like, what are all these people complaining about? So a big tournament here just makes sense, and that's super exciting that those guys are going to be running that. So my plan is definitely those two. Think I've got the wife convinced that I can do those. And then we're going to set up some babysitting for the kids. And that's the thing with the kids, it takes a lot of coordination, a lot of we both got to be on the same page, and then we've got to coordinate with family, and or if we have to get a babysitter for that day. It goes from being a $30 entry fee to upwards. I mean, how much is a babysitter an hour? What are you going to pay somebody? If we need a few hours each day because my wife's working, or it just takes a lot more for me to be able to do do those sort of events. I'm also looking for here in San Diego or somewhere close. I want to start looking at going to some narrative events. I really want to jump in narrative gaming here, which I think is possible. I think there's some people. Narrative events are usually, at least from my experience, harder to find. Not as advertised. Now, Coalescence is coming June 10th. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town that day, so I'm not going to get to participate in that. But that's amazing. So that is, if you don't know what it is, go to the TGA forums. I'll put a link right here. And check out Coalescence. Find someone local who's running that, because this is a really big deal. There are... what they say, like 80 different venues playing on that day, and all working towards the same narrative, which is pretty cool. I'm real stoked that the guys over in England are killing it on that one. They're also hooking up with Warhammer, and I think they're running it at Warhammer World with Games Workshop, and they're running it at Warhammer World, which is pretty rad in itself, as it's been incredible seeing how involved in the community Games Workshop has been. So with all of that, those are my plans. With that, let's talk about hobby. What I've been working on is since I signed up for the tournament that I mentioned, I'm gonna play in July. A lot of why I wanted to do that was to push myself to get some stuff painted. So I've got a 2,000 point Khorne list, demon Blaze of Khorne. I'm going full demons, except for in my tournament list I'm going to bring the Bloodsecrator, but I modeled up a herald with a icon looking thing to be my Bloodsecrator, as it counts as. I wanted all demons in the army, so I've got 2 Bloodthirsters, I've got 50 Bloodletters. I'm going to try out the dogs, and yeah, a herald on a Juggernaut and the Bloodsecrator. So I have some ideas of how this works. I haven't played enough to really know if this is a great list or if it's a good list or if I'm going to do well. I'm hoping to go. It's a 2-day tournament. If I could go and win a couple of games, I'd be stoked. But with that being said, I've got a lot of painting to do. So I've got 70 models in this list, and I've got the bases finished. I will go after I clear coat the model, when it's all said and done, I'm going to add some blood for the blood god, blood effect to the base, which really I think will make it pop, because right now what I did was I got those MDF bases like I talked about, got those magnetized, got them, I sculpted with some self-drying clay and carved out little like chaosy arrows in it, and then I used that agrarian earth there, I don't know how to say it. It's the crackle effect, which is amazing stuff. So I got 2 bottles of that, and you just slop that on. Like, the thicker you put that stuff, the bigger cracks and the more. So on some of it, I did like a thick part and then kind of swooshed it with like a lighter part, so it would have kind of I've worked with this stuff similar to that in painting cabinetry, where I do like a crackle effect and then a wash over it. So a lot of those kind of things make a lot of sense to my brain. If you've never done any of that kind of stuff, it really helps me to look at how things naturally crackle. So if you like see a piece of wood that has been painted, like on an old barn or like something that's really been in the weather, look how it naturally crackles, because that's or weathers, because that's the way that your eye will really kind of accept it. So when I'm doing like a weathering technique on a kitchen, that's really what's helped me in the past, is look and see how something naturally runs, how it naturally will crackle. Things tend to, burn through where you touch them, so you like or wear through where it's touched a lot, or where it would be moving parts, those kind of things. And it kind of gives you an idea of how the eye would be. So on this, I looked at a lot of different like cracked earth and kind of decided where I wanted the thicker parts to be and the lighter parts. You're doing 70 bases, and a lot of the bases, it doesn't matter a whole lot. I tried not to get the crackle effect down in the crevices too much, and more like on the flats. But it doesn't really matter too much. I mean, you're on bases, there's not a lot of space to work with. But you do want it to look good to the eye. But then I got that, so I put that color down. I didn't use that actual color, so then I painted them all with a tan, and then dry brushed up like 2 or 3 steps, so it kind of went to a kind of grayish brown, more brown than gray, a little darker. My blood letters are going to be lighter, so I'm going for like a light gray, almost white skin, but with like black horns and brass, and I just want it to be kind of the pale Legion, but those on that darker base, I think they're going to be really cool. So I got all of that stuff primed, attached to the base. Pinning 70 models to bases is always takes a long time, especially when you only got a couple hours a night. You feel it took me a few nights to get those really finished, and that was tedious at times, because I'm super stoked to actually get to paint some models, because it's been so long. Like I said, it's been over a year since I've actually got to put paint on models, so all of this is fun, but I'm ready to see some finished product. Got a ways to go before that happens. I think it's gonna go faster than I feel like than I think it will, but we'll see. So there I am. I have a plan. I have a goal working towards. If I can get them pretty well tabletop standard by July for that tournament, and then really I want it all of them like a few steps above tabletop. I tell that the ITC might be coming out with like a painting rubric to work towards, so when that comes out, I might try to hit some of those points, just to get on that. That'd be cool to be higher up on that list of Khorne Demon players. And then but who knows, man, there's some amazing guys out there. Like I said, I don't feel like I'm the best. I don't feel like I'm even touch it, but it's fun to try, right? And that's what this is about, is getting my hobby better, and really having something I'm proud of on the table. So that's my hobby. All right, back to basics. Let's see. So these videos, I really wanted to, obviously it's called Road to Sigmar. I'm talking about my road into Sigmar, Age of Sigmar, and how I'm getting started in this. I also wanted to like kind of give people ideas on how they could get their friends in, or how they themselves, if they've never played this or didn't really, or just kind of figuring this out, how they can like progress in their hobby and progress in their gameplay. So I have been doing this a while, so a lot of what I'm going to talk about is from my perspective, but I've played 40k a long time, so I kind of want to go back to the basics, which I said about how do you even get started. So I've been having these conversations lately, well, a lot of conversations, because on Facebook and Instagram, people are seeing all my little toy soldiers that I'm painting and doing, and they're like, "What is this thing you do?" And then I have to get through the like. It's kind of like Risk, and it's kind of like chess, but it's not really like it's a strategy war game. And you measure with tape measures, and you roll dice, and yeah, I painted them all. Oh yeah, I mean I didn't make them, but I built them. They're like little model kits, and explaining all of that to people. But then you get those conversations where it's like, well, how do I get in? I've seen like Space Marine video game and Dawn of War and Total War looks rad. Like I've seen those things out there, but I didn't know this was a whole thing. And then you invite him into our crazy plastic crack-filled existence where this is what we do. We make YouTube videos, and we write blog posts, and we paint our models and show them to each other across the world on Instagram. So a friend of mine is interested in getting in. It's like, and so he's asking like, well, how do I even decide? How do I pick an army? So first, talk about what do you like? He's into fantasy stuff already. So do you like dwarves? Do you like elves? Do you like dwarves from the sky that shoot a lot and ride in balloons? Do you like demons? And are you into the evil or the good? Do you like chaos? Look at all these cool things, and showing them through models and showing them through the Games Workshop page, and like all the different things that and what do you really like the aesthetic of? What do you really like the look of? And then I like to talk about like gameplay. So what is it that that drives you when you're playing other games? Are you more like the rogue, like you want to be swift and just stab people? Or are you more like the paladin, and I'm gonna heal and just sit here and just get my ass hit, and then keep healing, and like the defensive type character? Because I really find that translates for me. I usually play like the fast, hard hitting, like in your face type of character. I don't want to like, I don't want to just like take it for the party and keep it. I don't want to be the tank. So that translates into I love armies like Khorne. I want to run at you and hit you in the face. Obviously, there's more tactics to it than that, but the basics of it. So so that's kind of where our discussion went. It's like, what kind of army do you like to play? And then from there we can I can really kind of started to tease out what he was what he was getting interested in. And we kind of he liked the idea of lizards. He likes dark elves. He likes the aesthetics of those. So yeah, that's really the basics of what it takes to get into playing it. As far as picking an army. Now, obviously, there's first there's a box set that comes with like the rules and tape and some dice and 2 armies. And you and your friend could get those armies and just jump in and start playing the game. They're beautiful models. They're the same models. Like you could start painting them up, start figuring out how to do those kind of things. But there's also these starter boxes for each army, which is like about 3 or 4 units of guys. So you could really, those are rad because you can get them and you can get the feel of how a few of the units in the army work, and then you can start adding to it from there. But yeah, picking an army in the beginning isn't as much about what's the best, I don't think. Most people who are getting into this aren't looking to be like the best tournament player. It takes time and practice, it takes major skill level to be great at tournaments. So yeah, most of the guys that I even play with aren't looking for that. They're looking for more the what looks cool, What's the backstory? Like, reading some novels on this stuff will definitely get you excited about some of the different characters. So that's more the route that I like to take with people. I'm also more of a narrative gamer. Like I said, I'm getting more, like, going to some tournaments, which is going to be fun. But I want the story of my army to matter. So that's kind of the route I take with the friends that I meet. Now, if they were just interested in beaten face, I would point them to, there's a lot of podcasts about that. There's a lot of websites to go to and look up different things like that. But as far as picking an army for a noob who's never done any of this before, I would go more the aesthetic choice. So that's my back to basics segment. All right, so that's my show for today. If you like this, please like it, subscribe, share it with your friends. Yeah, I'm excited. Episode 3, gonna keep doing these every couple of weeks. Go to my Instagram, it's Benjamin2727, and my Twitter page is Benjamin272727. So go follow me there, and I'll communicate with you there. You can hit me with some comments if you like, and I'll chat you up. All right, see you later.